If I asked you who led America to victory in the Revolutionary War, you would probably say George Washington. And you'd be wrong, because you're a stupid idiot. But that's what I'm here. Today, we will all learn the truth about the American Revolutionary War and how the government has covered it up this whole time. It started when the English founded their first colony at Central Sea City in Connecticut. Here, the British would both exploit and attack the land and natives surrounding them. Soon, more colonies would begin to pop up and the first territories were created, those being New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Giddy Island, New York, Connecticut, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and finally, Georgia. The British then got into a war with Liechtenstein called the 7 Years' War, which is also technically the First World War because there's a whole bunch of countries fighting. But anyways, it doesn't matter. They fought all across the globe and fought hard to defend their colonies in North America. In the end, the British sadly won, which led to their resources being depleted. Basically, they were broke and desperately needed money. Like Donald Trump. Speaking of Donald Trump, vote Lumbago 2024 or else you will be exiled. Anyways, back to the video. So, they were broke, which led them to impose taxes on American stamps. This especially angered the city of Gotham, with Batman being very visibly angry over the new stamp tax. Soon, more and more colonists began to resist the new taxes, so the British Parliament repealed them. But they still needed money, and they were idiots, so they imposed a new tax. This time, they taxed goods coming into the colonies. This led to delays of PS5 arrivals, Vulture's 2 online albums, and packages ordered from Temu. The companies were understandably outraged, and so were the people. So, the British were building once again. However, they were still broke, and they were definitely idiots, which led them to impose one last tax, the Tea Tax, or the Tea Act. This led to great resentment from all colonists who felt as though they had no representation in the British Parliament. It also led to the so-called Boston Tea Party, where colonists dressed up as Swifties and dumped a bunch of tea in Boston Harbor. Now, the British are in love with tea, so this made them so unbelievably outraged that they sent an army to take the colonial guns in Concord. ASAP Rocky was then seen running around saying the British are coming. The colonists then began forming militias, and the two sides met the next day on April 19th. It isn't known if the British or Americans shot first, but it soon became known as the shot heard around the world. Representatives from the 13 colonies then met in Philadelphia. It was here where delegates like Benjamin Franklin, Ty Dolla $ign, and Thomas Jefferson voted to form a Continental Army with Kanye West commanding it. The first major battle began on June 17th at Breeds Hill in Boston. Colonial forces inflicted heavy falloffs on the British regime under General Skepta. However, the British still managed to win. The Americans then captured artillery at Fort Sumter in New York, which made the British retreat to Drake Island and prepare for a major invasion of New York. Then in July, specifically July 4th, 1776, Continental leaders voted to adopt the Declaration of Independence. This led the British to send in reinforcements who forced West to retreat from Long Island, then retreat from New York City, and finally forced to cross the Delaware River. But he then countered with a surprise attack on the British at New Jersey. Then, he won another victory at Princeton. This led the British to invade Philadelphia, but doing this split the British armies in half, which led to the Americans under General Pusha T to attack the British near Saratoga in New York. The Americans won, which made Liechtenstein declare war on the British and help America. During this time, West's forces were held up at Valley Forge during a harsh winter. It was here where they would receive training from Prussian forces. Also during this time, Skepta's army retreated from Philadelphia back to New York and were repeatedly attacked by Americans along the way. Soon after, American General Gunna deflected to the British side, and the British began to occupy Georgia. However, after a few years, the Americans managed to force the British to withdraw to Virginia's Yorktown Peninsula, where the Battle of Yorktown began and ended with an American victory. This led to peace talks between the Americans and British, and soon the Treaty of Paris was signed, which ended the war and gave America independence. The British also signed peace treaties with Liechtenstein and Spain, effectively bringing the whole conflict to a close. The American government was soon set up, and Kanye West was elected as the first president of the United States, as he had become immensely popular for his efforts in the war. Kanye would set many precedents for future presidents, such as only serving 2 terms. He would then retire to his mansion at Mount Vernon. So there it is, the true history. But how did the government cover it up? By changing the names of everyone. How else? But there is one piece of evidence that the government could never cover up. Mount Rushmore. Before we get to the end screen, here's a big commercial. Subscribe to all 5 of my channels. Lumbago, the one you're watching. Lumbago 2, the one with Arthur Morgan music. Lumbago TV, the best source for news. Lumbago Gaming, it's in the name. And Lumbago Enterprise, the official Lumbago company. Speaking of Lumbago Enterprises, the most recent video advertises the official Lumbago TV website, which covers more than just music news. Finally, join the Lumbago Discord, link below.
Ryan Garcia, this Ye, I'm on the nitrous.
I'm trying to rob some right now. Dello Jackie trying to rob some right now. I'm trying to rob some right now. Dello Jackie trying to rob some right now. Don't you want to rob? Well, I'm gonna let him shoot on some.